Are you being serious right now?
Yeah,
You'd let me interview you as Superman.
sure.
Ready?
Let's do it, Cronkite.
Superman.
Miss Lane.
Recently, you've come under a lot of fire for
I don't
what
know if
some
it's a
might.
lot of
it's
fire,
it's
but-
a lot. Today, the Secretary of Defense said he was going to look into your actions. That's funny?
My actions? I stopped a war.
Maybe.
Not maybe, I did.
In effect, you illegally entered a country.
This is how you're gonna be?
I'm not the one being interviewed, Superman. Did you consult with the president?
No.
You seemingly acting as a representative of
I
the
wasn't
United States will
representing
cause
anybody
more
except for me.
problems around the world.
And doing good.
I would question myself in the same situation and consider the consequences.
People were going to die. Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Your choices, your actions. That's what makes you who you are.
Superman. He's not a man. He's an it. He's somehow become the focal point of the entire world's conversation. I will not accept that.
I cleaned your boots. I'll go get them for you.
You have a dog?
Welcome back, everyone. They dropped a brand new Superman trailer. There's a bunch of new footage and Easter eggs, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. There's so much stuff going on. I'm gonna have to order like 15 more Superman t-shirts just to handle all the videos that we're working on. Starting at the beginning of the footage, they start with the interview between Lois Lane and Superman. It's meant to be a reference, I think, to the Christopher Reeve original Superman movie, My Night with Superman, where she basically interviews Superman. But in this context, she already knows that Clark Kent is Superman, and they've been together for a little while. But the big twist is she actually gives him a real interview, like she actually grills him on a bunch of issues that Superman just tackled, like the war in Boravia, the war that we've been seeing going on in that foreign country in the previous trailers.
Recently, you've come under a lot of fire.
It's meant to be connected to something that Lex Luthor is doing. It's implied that he's somehow behind what's happening with the war, like someone is trying to take over the foreign country, but he's trying to actually take control of it himself through another country that's invading it. So it's really Lex Luthor just manipulating the strings. Not really clear why he wants what's in Boravia or why he wants the country. But the way they explain it in their interview, Lois Lane is like, did you consult with the Department of Defense? And actually, while they're showing the Department of Defense, they actually show Rick Flag, who's supposed to be in charge of Argus right now during the context of this movie. So I think that's because when things pick up, they're actually carrying forward from Peacemaker Season 1, because we just got that Peacemaker Season 2 trailer where Amanda Waller's daughter outed all the shady stuff that she was doing with Argus. So I think that's why she's out in present day and why Rick Flag Sr., who we just saw during Creature Commandos, Frank Grillo's character, has basically taken over in her absence. And that's why you see him arresting Superman with the evil version of Superman and the Engineer and what seems like the US Army. A lot of people asking, why would Superman ever let himself be arrested? I think that's because of a twist that's supposed to happen in the movie where Lex Luthor actually breaks into the Fortress of Solitude, because we do get a lot of new footage of that, and it seems like he takes some communiques from Krypton and his father Jor-El and twists them in a way to basically use social media against Superman. Sort of like a Spider-Man Far From Home, No Way Home Mysterio situation where Mysterio used social media against Spider-Man. And I think at some point in the movie, somehow Lex Luthor is able to turn the world against Superman. Like, he becomes a very unpopular person for a little while till he wins people back again. When it comes to his actual relationship with Lois Lane, though, the way that James Gunn explained it, he's actually very much in love with her and wants to be in the relationship, but it's actually her who needs the convincing. She's not totally sure that it's worth the trouble of going out with someone like Superman. There's so many practical issues that would come with actually going out with someone like that, being with someone like that she's not sure she wants that responsibility. But I think part of the idea is that he obviously winds up winning her over through the course of this movie, too. But they're not meant to be married or anything like that. Like, they've just been going out for a little while when the movie picks up, and she has already learned that Clark Kent is Superman. And if it wasn't clear, they pretty much imply here that they've been living together for a little while, too. Like, this is their apartment together. He makes a Walter Cronkite reference, so Walter Cronkite is canon to the DCU now. This might be one of Mr. Terrific's ships in the streets outside, just because we've seen a lot of battle scenes outside with people climbing out of a ship. Notice there's part of a building that's missing, so this is probably after one of the big battles in the movie. When she says recently he's come under a lot of fire for a lot of things that have happened recently, like the war in Baravia and his actions during that, this is basically setting the stage for Lex Luthor to use social media against him. As you hear Lex Luthor's narration during the trailer, he talks about how the world is basically obsessed with Superman in a good way, and he can't stand that. Like, he's like, I will not let that stand. So one of his big missions to fight Superman in the movie, in addition to like regular ways that you would fight Superman using a bunch of other science, he also tries to turn public opinion against him.
That's funny.
There's one detail that you probably noticed during the beginning of the trailer too. When the person throws the can at the back of his head, he doesn't blink anymore. So they updated the take, maybe with special effects, or they used a different take. Because yes, obviously Superman would not flinch if somebody threw a common soda can at him. Like, it wouldn't be any big deal. Like, he wouldn't even feel it, basically. They intercut some footage of him on fire with it burning his suit. It seems like this is when he's fighting the kaiju. We get the corresponding footage of it like basically breathing all of the fire on him. Supposedly, Lex Luthor also creates that kaiju too. It kind of makes sense. Lex Luthor's behind most of the big threats that he faces in the movie. We get the same shot of the people at the Daily Planet watching the news. That's Cat Grant over on the left, Jimmy Olsen on the right, Steve Lombard behind Lois Lane here. This is him submitting to Lex Luthor's people here, the engineer, this evil version of Superman in the black suit. People have been making the Black Noir jokes just because of the Black Noir twist in The Boys comic book. They are doing this on The Boys TV show, but in The Boys comic book, Black Noir is secretly just a clone of Homelander. In the context of the Superman movie, this person in the black suit is just a clone of Superman that Lex Luthor has created and is using to fight Superman. Who could you get that could actually hurt Superman? Well, there are people that can use magic. Magic is able to hurt Superman, but also another Superman that has the exact same powers. There are a lot of different fight scenes across the trailer with him fighting this evil Superman in different forms, too. I'll explain when we get to those parts. But I think part of the idea is that he submits to them, allows himself to be arrested. This is a bit of like a Henry Cavill Superman Man of Steel reference where he submitted to the military. Like, okay, I will let you pretend like you're arresting me.
I'm surrendering to mankind.
Superman in this movie does that because he's trying to turn public opinion back towards himself. Like, he wants to make everybody else feel safe, like he is not the villain here. Whereas Lex Luthor is trying to play it as if he is the threat and he needs to stop him. Very on brand for Lex Luthor to play things like he is the hero and Superman is the villain. Lois Lane raises the issue if Superman thinks that he's above laws. They actually tackled this issue during Invincible Season 3 with Powerplex's character, who tried to use the legal system to go after Invincible because of all the damage that he caused in his fight with Omni-Man. In the way that the lawmakers in that universe said it, is that he's way too powerful for them to try and govern, so they're just going to let it pass, like nobody's going to try and arrest Invincible in that universe. This is just the Superman movie addressing how the DCU would tackle that issue. Not totally clear when this scene is happening, but Lex Luthor just looks like a total asshat, like just the way he's supposed to come off, like he's supposed to feel like he's really, really punchable. It seems like he's just monitoring some operation that he's trying to pull against Superman. He's trying to take Superman down, and he's just happy with the way things are going. When she asks him if he consulted with the US president, there have actually been scenes in the Christopher Reeve Superman era where he did meet with the US president briefly. Superman tries to justify his actions to her by saying that he's not really representing the United States specifically or another country specifically. He's just trying to be Superman, a person of the world, helping the world itself. All this collateral damage with the buildings going down in the background seems like it's during his fight with the evil version of Superman, maybe in one of his different forms, because there was a scene they released of him fighting the Hammer of Baravia. That's what they're calling this character with the star on his arm, the giant suit using the laser beams to fire at him, the heat vision. Notice it looks just like Superman's heat vision. Supposedly that's because it's just the evil Superman wearing a different suit earlier in the movie before you see him in the black suit.
In the same situation and consider the consequence.
And it's just Lex Luthor creating the Hammer of Baravia identity and just using the evil Superman for that. So he basically has the exact same powers as Superman. And it's actually in all the newspapers that they were reading too. The Hammer of Baravia terrorizes downtown. I think that's meant to be one of the opening fights of the movie, like in the first couple minutes of the movie. Baravia is also meant to be that foreign country where the war is going on during the movie, where he goes to help, he says. Him falling to the ground and creating that little crater there, like falling underground, and then the person helping him out, like, here's Superman, feels a lot like Spider-Man 2, where all the regular people were just helping Spider-Man on the train, like, just all the people feeling like he was actually a good person, just reinforcing the idea that he was a good person and people loved him. Get up, Spider-Man. Get up, Superman. I'm assuming that's during his fight with the evil Superman at some point during the movie, either when he's in the black suit or earlier in the movie when he's in the Hammer of Baravia suit. When he says, hey buddy, he's talking to the Hammer of Baravia, like it's just after that scene where he lasers that building, and we find out that it's actually the Lord Tech building, Maxwell Lord's building, who we just saw Sean Gunn playing during the Peacemaker Season 2 trailer when he's actually trying to make it onto the Justice League or Justice Gang's team. That's the name of their team. We actually get a couple more scenes of them in this trailer too. We get a longer scene of Lex Luthor, the engineer, that evil version of Superman, and Miss Tessmacher breaking into the Fortress of Solitude. This definitely feels like Christopher Reeve era where Lex Luthor broke into the Fortress of Solitude and Miss Tessmacher just came with him, like his girlfriend came with him. Also very on brand for Lex Luthor just to take his girlfriend around the world with him, even though she's probably not really doing that much to actually help him. Really, the engineer is the one that's doing a lot of the work here with the evil version of Superman. And I also think that's how he gets into the Fortress of Solitude, is that the Fortress just recognizes the DNA of this evil Superman and thinks that it's regular Superman, so it opens the door. That's one of the security protocols that the Fortress has. Kryptonian security is just coded to Superman's DNA, which is probably also why Supergirl can get in, because she shares some DNA, like he's part of his family biologically. We're supposed to get a Millie Alcock Supergirl cameo scene at the end of this movie, I think, where she comes to pick Krypto up. I think during the movie, the way they've talked about it is that Superman is just dog-sitting Krypto for her, and Krypto is really her dog. But basically during this scene, you see the engineer and the evil version of Superman just completely ripping through all the different robots here. R.I.P. to these robots. We get a little bit of her powers too, we didn't see in the previous trailer. Her body basically works a little bit like the T-1000 during Terminator 2. She can also interface with and control machines. But it seems like this is where Lex Luthor steps up to the Kryptonian console and gets the information that he needs and uses it against Superman. You also get a cool background look at the Fortress of Solitude too, like a much better look at all the different rooms in it in the background. We get a little voiceover from Pa Kent and Ma Kent, who gives us the moral message of the actual movie, which you see in a lot of other movies too. Pa Kent typically does this in all the movies that he appears in. Basically explain to Superman his responsibility to the world. And in the last couple of weeks, the report on this creature in the background that it seems like Green Lantern is fighting is that supposedly it's actually just a black hole of some kind that Lex Luthor also creates. Like, whatever it is, it's just something else that Lex Luthor has created. This looks like a flashback to Superman when he was a little boy. James Gunn also clarified that the Kent farm, they actually live in a double-wide trailer, not a traditional farmhouse like we've seen in previous Superman movies or TV shows, because he said he wanted it to feel more like the Missouri farmers that he grew up around, instead of like your traditional Superman big farmhouse. So the idea is that Superman is meant to have grown up extremely poor, like in extreme poverty. I think it's also meant to be a nice contrast with someone like Lex Luthor who has nearly infinite money. Just wait till he meets Batman Bruce Wayne if he hasn't already. He'll make Lex Luthor seem like he's poor. There's a brief shot of Mr. Terrific getting out of his ship with his T-spheres. This seems like it's part of that scene in the foreign country where he saves Lois Lane. We also see Green Lantern Guy Gardner, Nathan Fillion's character, using his Green Lantern ring to take out some of the forces here. Not totally clear what's going on here with Ma and Pa Kent helping him while he's passed out in bed, probably after just one of the big battles in the movie. But I do love the way at the end of the trailer that they had the corresponding scene of him waking up, like coming back to consciousness with Krypto just on top of him, like a normal dog would rest on top of you. If you've ever had a dog, no matter how big the dog is, the dog will always try to sleep on top of you. I've grown up my entire life having labs for the most part. They're not the biggest breed of dogs, but they're much, much bigger than Krypto. In every single one of those labs, no matter how big they got, would always try to sleep on top of you. We also see Lois Lane inside his childhood bedroom on the Kent farm. Just seems like he's absolutely out cold here. There are a couple of details around his room too that you see in the other shots, like childhood awards, trophies that he won when he was a little kid, his diploma from high school, from Smallville High School. We get a scene of what seems like the pocket universe that Lex Luthor has created where he traps Superman with a version of Metamorpho. Miss Tessmacher is here too for some reason, not totally sure why she's in here in that dress. These people in the suits are just Lex Luthor's people wearing the armor that he creates. I think the reason why Metamorpho is in that cell with them, helping them subdue Superman, is because they're using his powers to change himself into kryptonite. Like he can literally transform himself into kryptonite, like you see during the cartoons here. We get a little voiceover from Lex Luthor, who's referring to Superman as an it, treating him like an alien thing. Not totally clear what's happening in this scene with all the dust all around him, but he's near street level, like you can see the street lamps around him, so it's probably when all those big buildings are coming down in the background, just throwing up all those clouds of smoke. We get an aerial scene of the Justice Gang, they're calling them, in their suits, Hawkgirl, Green Lantern, and Mr. Terrific.
Somehow become the focal point of the entire world's conversation.
I think this is meant to be during the big fight with the kaiju, just based on the corresponding footage. Then we actually see him fighting the Engineer and that evil version of Superman in the stadium in Metropolis, and I think this is meant to be one of the final fights of the movie. Not totally clear what's going on here, where you see this chasm open in the middle of the river through Metropolis, but it looks a little bit like the technology in Lex Luthor's pocket dimension, and notice the coloration is kind of purple. This just seems like something that Lex Luthor does. It seems like this is after he comes back to consciousness, like he starts to feel better, he's healed a little bit. Ma Kent comes along and says, "I've cleaned your boots, like I've cleaned your suit, time to put it on and take off again." Not totally clear who Hawkgirl is pushing out the window here. There's a brief new scene of Jimmy Olsen having a little bit of fun with Clark Kent, and him playing it up as if he's hurting him just a little bit. David Corenswet's Clark Kent performance so far, at least in the footage that we have seen, does seem very much like Christopher Reeve's version of Clark Kent. There's a scene of Miss Tessmacher taking a selfie with Superman fighting the Hammer of Baravia, or the evil Superman in the Hammer of Baravia suit. Also, like I said, seems like it's at the beginning of the movie. There's a brief scene of the Engineer using her nanite powers to go after Superman in the stadium fight. This scene is actually of Superman throwing Lex Luthor's desk across the room in his office. There's a scene of Lex Luthor taunting him, drinking from his mug. Then we actually see Mr. Terrific seeming like he helps Lois Lane make it into Lex Luthor's pocket dimension. I think that's what this space is, like it's a special pocket dimension that he creates where he traps all those different creatures he's experimenting on people. We get a little Metamorpho using his powers, and then it seems like Superman is also inside this pocket dimension space fighting the evil version of Superman. Notice to see laser vision coming at him from the distance. That's why I think he's fighting the evil version of Superman in here. This also might be from one of the final fights in the movie. Wouldn't I be surprised if he winds up destroying this space too, like it doesn't exist after the end of the movie. They kind of got into this phenomenon during Peacemaker Season 1 where like his dad had his own pocket dimension, and it also shows up during the Peacemaker Season 2 trailer, funny enough, using it to show that it has access to the multiverse. So maybe that's also true of what's happening during this movie too, where like it's possible to travel to other dimensions using some of this technology. But I don't expect James Gunn to do a whole bunch of multiverse stuff during the actual Superman movie. I think that's just a joke for the Peacemaker Season 2 trailer. This is part of that same extended scene that we got earlier this year, like the extended footage where the Kryptonian robots are healing a bunch of broken bones and fractures that he has using an enhanced version of the sun, like this giant Kryptonian magnifying glass, to basically enhance the sun's rays to many, many times their normal strength. Really easy way for Superman to quick heal himself, fly through the sun, or just sit under a really, really powerful magnifying glass. And they end the trailer with that funny scene of Krypto resting on top of him while he's been passed out asleep on his bed. Also in the background too, there's another James Gunn Easter egg. This is like a recurring James Gunn thing. He likes his posters for fake bands. The Mighty Crabjoys is meant to be a joke on the Mighty Boss Tones, but it's shown up in a couple different series, a couple different places. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see references to that band in other future productions, like it already showed up again during the Peacemaker Season 2 trailer. But there's a bunch of new stuff going on during the trailer here. Everybody just post all your reactions in the comments below. If there's any Easter eggs that you think you spotted that I didn't talk about during this video or my previous Superman videos, just write them below in the comments too. Just because we're getting closer and closer to the movie coming out, we'll probably get more trailers in the next couple months. We will probably get another trailer in the next month or so. Of course, whatever they wind up releasing, I will do a video for it. Because we're in the middle of the upfronts right now too, it's kind of trailer fest this week. Marvel did release a couple of trailers. I'll try to do videos for that stuff and get it out as soon as possible. So be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. But there'll be a bunch more Superman and Green Lantern stuff coming soon. Everybody click here for all my other Superman footage and trailers, and click here for that Peacemaker Season 2 trailer with the Justice Gang. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.